Hello, welcome to Home of Secret Marae. Charlie's asleep. Matt's at a men's church bonfire right now, so just thought this is I have time to film, and this is quite the update, so I feel like I needed to bounce on the bounce? I needed to pounce? I needed to bounce on the opportunity to film this and share this. So get that awkward beginning part of the video out of the way. So by the title of this video, you know that we have started the process to foster to adopt. In previous videos I had talked, I don't know exactly what details I all shared. I'm pretty sure I know, but yeah, in a previous video I had shared about how we wanted to adopt. We just weren't sure the timing and everything. I know that I had shared also that, like, how I felt God kind of nudge us and put this on our heart even more, like how that all started, and how if those of you have watched the video before, I just said, so basically I had been looking up foster to adopt. Like, we were on a trip to Missouri and I had been looking at foster to adopt, like looking up things about it. Like, it just kind of like came to my mind and it was on my heart, and then I felt like really emotional, like almost like God's presence as I was reading this, and I'm pretty sure I cried. And I'm not a super crier, you know. So I was like, oh, this is something. And then it was a few hours later where a woman had at a hotel, I just asked her, like, are your boys twins? Because they were like the same age. And she was like, no, we fostered to adopt them. And in the video that I shared, and in like just telling people at first about the experience, I just said I had been looking up adoption, and the woman just said she adopted the children. But long story short, had been like kind of suppressing the fact that it was actually foster to adopt that I was looking up, and it was actually foster to adopt that a few hours later the woman had said, like, that's how she adopted her boys. I just didn't really want to consider fostering to adopt. So I kind of just like, well, maybe that's not really a part of it. Maybe it's just adoption. This might be a little confusing for you if you haven't watched the previous video, so I'll try to remember to link it below. But otherwise it's just like 2 videos behind this one, or 2 videos previous to this one. But yeah, so I'll kind of give a little rundown about everything that's happened since then. So and then there is, if you watch the previous video, you'll hear, I'm pretty sure I talked about how there was like a scripture that was like repeated, and about taking care of orphans and the fatherless. And then basically I didn't know, like, after that was in May, it's now September, almost October, right? Yeah. I didn't know, like, after that I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know the timing, I didn't know, like, I was kind of, like I said, I was kind of like blocking out foster to adopt, and so just kind of let it go for a little while. I'm trying not to get things out of order, so that's why I'm really pausing a little bit. I think it was just, I, well, you know, we've been trying for a baby like every month. It's been so far 5 months. Like, I'm not including the miscarriage. So 5 months since the miscarriage that we've been trying and haven't gotten pregnant. So, I had just, and I was having insomnia, really having trouble sleeping. Like, it was horrible. That's another story. And I was just awake one night and foster to adopt just popped in my head. And yeah, it was just really in my mind, foster to adopt. And then the next day, I saw my friend who had adopted, not foster to adopt, but adopted her daughter, and but she does know people who fostered and fostered to adopt. So she's like in that world and everything. And so I told her that I had woken up with that in my mind, and now I'm kind of, you know, considering fostering to adopt, but it's, you know, my reservations and my husband's reservations were that just like you're not guaranteed to be able to keep the child. Like, the goal of foster care is reunification with the biological parents, and my husband especially didn't want to take in like a child that was any older than Charlie. He doesn't even want, at this point, doesn't want to take in a child I think older than a year old. Maybe if they were under 2 it would be okay with him, but yeah, those are the main things. And then like we're like, oh, or he, I guess both of us, but like, yeah, with like a child that's older than Charlie, especially him, was concerned about the child like teaching Charlie you know, bad teaching Charlie things that we don't want Charlie to be taught. And like you know, if the child had a lot of trauma, like how that affect Charlie. No, I cared a lot about that too, but I think Matt was specifically concerned about that more. But I wouldn't let just any child in my house. Yeah, so I told my friend about how that had been on my mind, and I'm kind of considering it more now. And then about a week later, I was talking to Matt and just brought up adoption again. I hadn't really talked to him about it since like we were on our trip in Missouri, and he was like open to it then. And he saw like, okay, it seems like God is at work, like, you know, seems like God is pointing us towards this, but it is scary. But that's kind of where we left off. And then when I brought it up to him this evening, after Charlie was asleep, he was kind of more hard-hearted against it, and like just didn't really want to go there. I think because I specifically brought up foster care, and yeah, he was just like, no, like, and he was saying like the baby has, if this were to happen, the baby would have to be under a year old. I thought there was something else he said, like it would have to be under a year old and have like minimal trauma. Maybe he said that, I don't know. And so I was like, okay. And I was crying. Yeah, that's another thing. I was crying. Like, I just really want Charlie to have a sibling, and I don't know when I'm gonna get pregnant. Like, you know, I don't know when I'm gonna get pregnant and have another biological child. I just really want Charlie to have a sibling, and I want another child. And so I believe I know, I don't know what time of day, if it was before or after this, but I prayed, like, God, I don't know when, I believe that you're leading us in this, but I don't know what your timing is for this. The next morning, my friend, who had never done this before, but I guess because I told her about how I woke up just having fostering to adopt in my mind, she, like, someone had sent her a post. There's like this fostering adoption group that she's a part of on Facebook, and someone had sent her specifically a post about a little girl, like, I think she was like 10 months old, who she's only been in the hospital, and then like the same foster parents who are like really good foster parents, and she hadn't been in like a traumatic environment or anything besides her birth and, you know, how she came into the world. But so my friend sent me this message that another person had sent her, saying like they felt led to send this to her, and asked if they knew anyone who was in the process of getting licensed or was like starting to get licensed, or like was already licensed with this agency, and that this child was through. And she sent it to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And long story short, it didn't end up working out with that child because another family, I guess, had been contacted about this child before we had gotten in contact with the agency. So, but from that, I did like get in contact with this agency and a woman who fosters babies specifically through this agency, and she said, yeah, she takes in these babies, and they have some medical issues, because the foster agency is like a treatment foster care agency, so it's like they take in they're like children with some medical issues, not always sometimes they're more minor, and sometimes they're more severe, just depends. So either like some medical issues, some extra like trauma experience, or like a set of siblings, so just with more intensive needs. And so anyway, I started talking to this woman because she was the foster mom of this little girl, and so I was able to ask her questions and like get her perspective on things, and like just have her as a contact for like, because she doesn't adopt the babies she takes in, but most of the babies that she takes in end up needing to be adopted, so it's like pretty much a guarantee that they're not able to be reunified with the parents. And so anyways, that was very cool. Like instantly I got a connection into a really good connection into the foster world, got like basically plugged into a fostering agency, didn't have any plan or idea of which agency I'd go with before this. And this woman really, she has been a foster parent for like years and years, and so she has experience with different agencies, and she said like this one is the best. They're great at communicating and all these things. So I did still check out a few other agencies, but I ended up going with this one. But yes, like I said, I was looking at other agencies, but I wasn't sure which one we should go with. And sorry, going back, I had prayed after I found out about that little girl, when I wasn't sure, if we'd be able to adopt her or if someone else was, it was kind of up in the air at that time. Before I told Matt about her, I prayed, like, God, please soften Matt's heart. Please soften Matt's heart and, like, help him to be open to, fostering, to adopt. And then when I got home and told him about it, his heart was like totally soft, and he wanted to get involved and meet this child if no one else was going to take her in. But like I said, it didn't work out with her. But it was also like it kind of forced him and I to see, like, there are children, like, who are needing in the foster care system, who are like infants and who need to be adopted, or who very likely will need to be adopted. And yeah, and like I said, we now had like another resource. Like, we didn't really have anyone in the foster world that we could talk to and ask questions, but now we had this woman, and like, we could possibly adopt one of her babies that she takes care of when they first come out of the NICU, because a lot of them are premature, or pretty much all of them are premature. And then, yeah, this agency is great. And so, but then fast forward, when I was deciding to, like, we were trying to decide which agency to go with, because this one that we are going with now is a treatment foster care. So like I said, it's higher needs. And then I was looking at another one where it's just regular foster care, and I was just like, I don't know which one to go with. It's a hard decision. And I just prayed and asked God to help me discern which agency to go with. And so there's this sign up the road from my house that has said foster care, or foster families needed, or something. And it's been there for, like, I don't know, at least a year. And I had seen it when I would, take a walk past, or sometimes drive past it, and something would kind of, like, I don't know, pull at my heart when I would see that. And then after I had prayed that, the next day I was driving past it. I never really looked at the very bottom of the sign when I would pass it. I would just read foster homes needed. But I decided to look at the very bottom of the sign, and it said Foundations, which is the agency that the higher needs foster care agency that I was thinking about. And so I was like, well, I feel like that's a sign because, like, just the timing, and like that I actually decided for whatever reason to look at the bottom of it, which it was kind of hidden by grass and stuff. And then like, this agency is not local to us, so it's not like, oh, it's like in our county or something. No, it's not local to us, so it's like kind of interesting. And then when I got home, I got a text, even though we're not fully licensed yet, like we're still in the process. I got an email from someone from the agency asking if we'd be interested in this little boy who's, I think, just about to turn 10 months. And yeah, he needs an adoptive home. I was totally like, yes, like totally jumped in and wanted to meet him and everything. And Matt wanted to meet him. We saw a picture of him, and they said he was like developmentally, all they said at first was that he was developmentally delayed, and he has a G tube, which usually they grow out of, babies grow out of that and everything over some years, and they can slowly incorporate like different foods. Like he can eat baby food sometimes, but nearly all of his nutrition comes from like the putting formula in a tube that directly goes into his stomach. Like honestly, that didn't really scare me much, because the foster mom that I had got connected with, she fosters a lot of babies that have that, and it's pretty easy, and she said a lot of times they grow out of it in a few years. So, and the developmentally delayed didn't really bother me either. But then a few days later, I found out he had FAS, which is fetal alcohol syndrome. And basically it's so there's FASD, which is the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So it's a whole spectrum. And so obviously when a pregnant mother drinks while pregnant, the alcohol severely, well, it depends how much she drinks, and also I guess like the DNA of the baby, like it'll affect them differently. So it's a spectrum, and it'll cause some level of brain damage. And fetal alcohol syndrome is at the very end, like the worst on the spectrum. So the most like brain damage or effects, like defects of the body. So sometimes the G tube and everything. But I think sometimes they can have a G tube but not have that severe of brain damage and everything, and not be as delayed. But once I found that out, I was researching a lot, and I was just like, dang, this is intense. Like, long story short, I know this is already a long video, so I'm not gonna go into everything, but like basically if the child has fetal alcohol syndrome, they're very likely it's very likely that they're never going to be able to live on their own, and they're always going to need your help, and you're pretty much going to need to like watch them all the time. And because they have like, they a lot of times they function, even if they're grown up, they function like as a young child. And so they have, and even like worse, like they have really poor impulse control. They like don't realize consequences of their actions and all this stuff. And so I don't know, I kept going back and forth, and like Matt as well, and then we actually met him, and that was like, yeah, I don't know, it was a really special time, and like we bonded with him, and it made me really care for him a lot more. But it's like, I don't know, we've been going back and forth because it's, yeah, that's a huge commitment to make. And like part of me is like, okay, I'm called to lay down my life as a follower of Jesus and die to myself. and this child needs care. This child needs someone. Like, there's a scripture that says, like, I don't know exactly what it says, but like, when did you, like, Jesus is saying, like, when you take care of the sick, when you take care of the hungry, when you take care of the poor, when you take them in and care for them, you are caring for him. Like, it's as if you're caring for him. And so if I wasn't a believer, it wouldn't be a hard, like, I would just be like, no. Most likely. But since I am a believer, it's a little more, there's more things to weigh out, you know. And so there's, you know, it's not just my will, it's what is God's will, what is his heart for us and for this little boy. And it's not just about me and my dreams, it's about serving others, laying down my life for others as well. But having said that, I do have a 2-year-old already, and this is just things that other people have like helped me see. Like, I do have a 2-year-old already. I am laying my life down for him. I'm dying to myself every day for him. You know, like, putting my own wants and needs sometimes, you know, like Charlie's are often above my own wants and needs. Like, his needs are before my own. And how, yeah, like, he's a young child. It might be different if Charlie was older or out of the house, or I didn't have any kids at all, or I had like experience with kids with like disabilities or specifically fetal alcohol syndrome, but I don't, and there might be someone who's better qualified or like is in a better position to take care of him. And yeah, like, what is also going back, like, what's best for Charlie? I mean, if I took in this child, he would not like Charlie would get completely put on the back burner, but this child would need a lot of care, a lot of attention. It would, yeah, I don't know what would happen. Like, I don't know how I'd be able to give Charlie, you know, all of the attention and care that I want to give him. And I might have more children too, like, biologically. I believe I will, so it's like, I don't know how I would be able to handle all that. Honestly, at this point, we're kind of leaning towards saying no. We are supposed to take him in next weekend. I don't know when this video will be posted, but yeah, we're supposed to take him in for respite, so just like take him for a weekend from the foster parents and just see how it goes with him and what, you know, how he is with our family and what we feel and everything when he's with us. And but I was kind of debating, like, should we even have him over, if I'm really leaning towards no, because I haven't had any like confirmation from God for this specific child, and I feel like if it's this big of a decision and this life altering, God would give me peace and like give me a very clear sign. It wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't be able to ignore it. I wouldn't be able to like suppress it. And I haven't gotten that yet. Yeah, and it's really hard because I really care for him already, and I don't want him to end up being in a bad situation. Yeah, we are open to like kids with fetal alcohol, like who are on the spectrum of like fetal alcohol syndrome disorder. So like the woman who I got in contact with, who like is through the same agency as I'm going through, one of her daughters, who are like a teenager now, she's on the like spectrum of fetal alcohol disorder, but it's not like as severe as this little boy. She's gonna be able to live on her own, and she can have a job and all this stuff. It's just some learning disability and like anger issues and some other little things. They're not necessarily little, but it's like I know that we could take in a child like that, and where it's not like so severe, and even he has other medical issues too, so it's like if they didn't have quite as many medical issues that need attention, because I want to help a child who is in a rougher spot and who is in need of more care. And I think it would definitely like impress upon Charlie like compassion and serving others, and like I think it'd be really good for him to grow up and see his parents like take in someone who's in need of that care and be a light to them and be the hands and feet of Jesus to them. I think that'd be really good for Charlie to witness, but like, yeah, on a less severe scale, maybe when he's older and out of the house and doesn't need to rely on us, when Charlie doesn't need to like rely on us as a young child would, like we could take on something like that. But again, I think, yeah, we would need God to really lead us in that direction if it was something that severe and intense, a case that's severe and intense. But yeah, so that's where we're at. If you guys could be praying for us, even if we were to conceive like naturally soon, I still want to foster to adopt. I still feel led to that, and I still feel led to this agency, like more intensive needs type children. So it's not like if I get pregnant and conceive naturally soon, like we're not gonna do this or think about this anymore. Like, no, this is still on our radar, still on our heart. It's not gonna go away. It still definitely seems like a call that God placed on us, but we don't know the child or the timing, but things are definitely happening. Things are definitely like something could happen any day. We could get a call like there's this little girl that whatever. Things happen like that in the foster care world. But yeah, and with this agency that we can, what's nice about it, like they know what kind of child we're willing to take in, what kind of child we want. So we can tell them like we want to adopt, and we want to adopt like someone younger than our son, and they won't push us to like adopt or take in a child that we already specified that we're not willing to at this time. So that's nice. Like they know we want an adoptable like young child or infant, and that's good to know that they're like they want what's best for the child, but they also want what's best for us too. So yeah, if you guys could be praying for all that, and if you have any comments, leave a comment, like and subscribe. I'll try and keep you updated as best I can. And yeah, catch you in the next one.